Good day. My name is Martin Schweiger. I'm a patent attorney in Singapore. I'm also a powerlifter, and I take you today with me on my daily walk. I try to do 5,000 or 7,000 steps, sometimes 10,000 and 25,000. Today will be rather short, less than an hour, maybe 5,000 or 6,000. Today is the 7th of February 2025. It's a Friday. You know my project, right? I want to lose body weight, go into a lower weight class, a competition. The Singapore Nationals on the 22nd of February 2025. I started 3 weeks ago with a body weight of 110.6 kg. I want to compete in the 105 kg class, which means that I should lose at least 8 kg to be safely in the 105 kg class. What I can tell you is that, number one, this is quite a challenging goal. Losing 8 kg in 5 weeks can be done. And I would say I'm not in bad shape with that goal. I'm doing a fasting cycle every week, Tuesday and Wednesday, and I measure my weight at the end of the fasting cycle because that is the most reliable weight measure that I can give. Body weight is usually not is my experience. I'm really a master in losing weight because in my lifetime I have accumulated, I don't know exactly, but at least 300 kg of weight loss, and I regained the 300 kg, obviously, plus more. So my body weight today, after almost 3 weeks, this morning was 106.4 kg. At the end of the third fasting cycle, which was on Wednesday 2 days ago, and really at the end of the day, was 103.8 kg. So since Wednesday evening, I have gained some 2.5 kg. I'm not sure whether my body weight of today, I'm very sure my body weight of today is not my body weight. It's something that fluctuates. It has to do with my body weight, but it's not the body weight itself. So I prefer to rely on the body weight after the second day of fasting, because that would be really my body squeezed out to the bare minimum. That's also when I do my fat measurements. All the fat measurements done with a not squeezed out body are not reliable. I have this fat measurement scales, the weighing scales, right? So I have 15 days left, and I'm quite confident that I will be in that 105 kg class. Although, I must say, I may not be safely in it, so that makes it quite exciting because it's a challenge. I love challenges. Maybe that's why I'm lifting weights. there are only two states. Either the weight is up or not, and that means how strong you are. The same applies to my goals in losing weight. I don't believe in losing weight as a purpose for itself. It's not, body weight is not reliable, and so having a competition is just nice. We masters powerlifter in Singapore, I mean those that are 40 and above, we have a WhatsApp chat group. And I am posting updates of my weight loss challenge there. And that sometimes triggers discussions. Wow, you need to see this. That is so huge. This is a public space in one of the neighborhood community centers, and you can book it for your event. Sometimes there are two. This is huge. You can put a whole battalion there. I wasn't aware of that. Yeah, easy, 4 companies, no problem, and not bad. So the Singapore government does a lot for the people. So this is 6 badminton courts, but surely you can book it for other events. Yeah, that's also part. I want to show you how Singapore looks like. I walk around just to get clock my steps, and at the same time I tell you about my journey, my health and fitness journey, and also about Singapore. This is a community center. It comes with restaurants. Wow, I'm impressed. This is new. Probably renovated. Back now. So the masters group in WhatsApp and discussions about weight loss. And I have an unfair advantage because for me Chinese New Year is just over, and during Chinese New Year I could really pursue my fasting while all my Chinese peers, they could not. Chinese New Year means eating, and what I see from the chat, most of them gained 1.5–2 kg, which is normal because over Chinese New Year everybody visits everybody, and then there is food all over the place. So if you want to indulge into Asian food culture, come to Singapore during Chinese New Year and arrange some invitations with your friends or even family if you have. Now, the question came up, do I eat rice before strength training when losing weight? And I'm speaking from my own perspective. And the worst thing that I can do is eating white cooked rice. There's something, if you're into losing weight and you're not as far, you need to read up something about glycemic index. And that's a measurement on how fast carbohydrates are converted into glucose that can be measured in the blood. And there are different foods, some are faster, some are slower, and then you also can influence the absorption by eating food stuff that is not carbohydrates. There are even different carbohydrates. So the fastest probably that produces glucose in your body is this artificial sugar. But not only that, also fruits that have sugar. And I would say all fruits have sugar. Maybe that's the difference between a fruit and a vegetable. I'm not sure, but as we are talking about the devil, can you see the nice fruits behind you? Is this cool or not? Yeah. So right now for me, no, I don't eat fruits and I don't eat sugar. I don't eat sweet stuff. I stay away from sweetened drinks. And the reason is because I want to lose weight. Losing weight can only be done by getting rid of your fat cells. How do you get rid of your fat cells? Very simple. The body must signal the fat cells that it needs energy that it cannot have from other sources in the body. I mean, that would be the liver that stores glucose, which has earlier been produced from other foods. Or it can be glucose that is directly in the bloodstream. Yeah, so if the glucose in the blood goes down, then the body would signal, hey, I need energy. Then some other organs would issue glucose in the blood. And when I say organs, I also mean muscles, even if they're not organs, because glucose is also stored in the muscle. Anyway, you can try that if you put on a continuous glucose meter, which I recommend to anyone who wants to lose weight. Because if you don't know, if you don't get a hands-on experience what your blood glucose does in reaction to what you do with your body, and it's not only about eating, then you have no idea about your metabolism. And it's so cheap. A continuous glucose meter from China today is available for $25, maybe less. It's good for 2 weeks and it's really worth it. So this is a mosque on Friday. The third prayer just over, and then the men go for lunch. Prayer over, and now you go for lunch.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm doing a movie about this here. Very friendly people. See foreign. Okay, enjoy your weekend. Bye bye. So, wow, these electric bikes are dangerous. I've heard once in Indonesia someone suggested that they install a noise system that you can choose between barking and ringing a bell and sort of barking a barking dog. That would be cool. Electric bikes that bark like dogs in different pitches. So when all the glucose in the body is depleted, then the fat cells get the signal, hey, we need energy. So release your triglycerides, which they will do. And at the same time producing water. That's why people say when you lose weight is water. And so anyway, then the triglycerides travel to the liver and are converted into something that the cell can metabolize and convert into ATP, which is the currency for energy in the body. So ATP is the catchword. Healthy cells have a cycle. I mean, it's named after Mr. Krebs. The Krebs cycle would do this, and the essential role are the mitochondria in the body. I simplify now. Number one, I'm walking on thin ice because I'm an engineer and not a biologist. But I can of course read all this and understand. And number two, if it goes too far, I did the episode, the 102, and it took me 40 minutes just to explain 3 fuel types of the body. And one of them being cancer, the typical one for cancer cells. The other one, glucosis, converting glucose into ATP, and also alcohol. So now I want to summarize the way that the body converts protein to ATP, the currency that you need for strength training, and how that is linked with the ketosis mode that produces ATP from the fat cells. Protein is produced by the stomach. Not produced, nonsense. Protein is produced by cows, for example, and then converted into steaks that go into our stomach, and from there become amino acids. And then the amino acids can either be directly processed and converted into ATP in the cells with or without the help of mitochondria, or over the liver and the kidneys they can be converted into glucose. This process is called neoglycosis, something like make your glucose new, and then it would raise the glucose level. While you cannot measure the direct conversion of proteins into cellular energy, I mean, there are these direct processes where substances are produced that can directly used in the Krebs cycle. Yeah? There are others that you can measure. And when you eat a steak, you can see that your blood glucose levels are rising. So, now we are back to the question. If you need power for strength training, what is the most important thing? I believe your blood glucose must be up. You can easily try out what training with a low blood glucose level means, and I did so on Wednesday. If you remember, Wednesday I had behind me 24 hours water fasting, and then about 15 hours dry fasting, and because my body weight was not where I wanted to have it, because it seems that my body gets adapted to fasting. That's bad, because I've trained my body that, hey, now you're in a concentration camp for the next 10 years, food may be scarce, and the body would switch to lower consumption. That's why I need to think about new ways to chastise my body. Very smart guys, these bodies. So, you need to get your blood glucose up. And there are 3 ways, right? You can eat carbohydrates, you can drink alcohol. No, alcohol not. Doesn't have influence on blood glucose. And you can eat proteins. And the difference is the process to produce glucose from protein is much slower than the process of producing glucose in the blood from carbohydrates. It's also an advantage which I use because there's some sort of balance between the glucose level, blood glucose level, and the ketosis mode of the body. So when the body is in ketosis, I mean, there's no black and white, right? There's no switch where some little man would switch from ketosis to glucosis. Ketosis meaning burning ketones that stem from triglycerides in the fat cells, which would cause weight loss. Well, the glucoses would produce energy from carbohydrates directly, and you stay as fat as you are, no weight loss. So it's somehow a balancing out between, can I keep my body in ketosis, or at least partly in ketosis, and still produce glucose in my blood by eating. And, okay, now it becomes very individual because I speak from my own experience of losing body weight for 46 years. Remember, the 300 kg in total come from accumulating that over long periods of time. What I say is, whatever comes, I stay away from carbohydrates when I can, because my normal food already comes with carbohydrates. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I had a nice hamburger with cheese. No carbohydrates in that. Then I put some spinach because it's good for my nitric oxide level in the saliva, and I can measure that in bottom. Then I had broccoli, no carbohydrates so far. I had a broccoli soup that was made with cream, no carbohydrate, only fiber, protein and fat so far, plus onions. For fiber reason, number one, and number two, I love the taste of charred onions. The Maillard reaction to that. Onions with butter, wow, I tell you. In my steel pan, no, cast iron pan, even better. And the onions come with carbohydrates, a lot. Okay, I limited it to one small onion. Or was it two? Anyway, so after my strength training yesterday evening, my blood glucose was at 5.1 because I depleted all the leftovers from the evening before when I broke fast. And when I had my meal, my dinner, blood glucose went up to 5.9. Actually, anything below 6 is good because it means that I don't spike, and the spikes in my body, the spikes that the eating of carbohydrates causes would immediately tell the body that the energy supply is back and no more ketosis needed. So my ketosis, and I could measure that during the time when my ketones spilled over from the blood to the urine. So my ketosis ended immediately when there was a spike in the blood sugar. While if I add the same amount of carbohydrates with a low glycemic index, which means that they don't cause spikes, they just raise the level slowly, would still keep me in ketosis. I said, oh, okay. Good. So, just to let you know, last Wednesday I had this walk. I started with a low ketosis level of 5.1, and then after 10 minutes into the walk, my blood glucose meter showed me that my blood glucose went down from 5.1 to 4.0. And I really felt lousy, like an empty tube of toothpaste. I pushed through. I continued my walk for 1 hour because I wanted this weight loss. But it was really a fight against myself. I wanted to call a taxi already to take me to the restaurant. But I stayed there and I successfully did it. But I can tell you, this is how it feels if you train with a low blood glucose level. And from my experience over the years, whatever training I do, cardio or strength, if my blood glucose is at 5.0, perfect. If the blood glucose is at 4, it's not nice. And the worst is if the drop happens during training. So while it is good for me, I can bring up my blood glucose to a level of 5, maybe even 6, if I eat protein. If I started in a ketosis mode, it is not said that the storage for glucose in the body would be sufficient to go through that. So it may be that I run out of glucose that I need immediately for producing fast ATP, and I need to switch to the slower ketosis fuel mode where the whole machine just runs slower. Some would say here, oh, very bad. And this is when the body then starts to eat on your muscles, producing glucose from the protein of your own body. And I said, oh, actually in my state, this is called autophagy, and I would appreciate to have it because I need to get rid of all the unnecessary, redundant, unnecessary cells in my body that causes the wrinkles because of the weight loss. Or here under the arm. I have even wrinkles under the arm. That's very cool. Anyway, the purpose of training is that you move your body, you strengthen your muscles, and it is definite that you cannot achieve this when you are running out of glucose. So that's where I'm coming from. Now the question is, what should you eat before training when you're in a general ketosis mode? This is what I do. You don't need to follow. I have protein some 3 hours or 4 hours before training, a lot. That gives me enough glucose to usually go through a 1 hour training, which is the typical length of my trainings today. I'm at very low weights of something 150 kg or so for deadlift and squat. That would be different before the competition. I would half an hour to half an hour, 1 hour before the competition starts, eat or drink, eat carbohydrates or drink something with carbohydrates. Probably drink. And the reason being because I just want to fill my glucose, my body with glucose, so that when I compete I can go through the whole thing, and I would keep the glucose level up. For my next competition I leave my glucose sensor on, so I can give you a clearer picture during that competition. And yeah, so if you want to eat before training or competition to have enough energy for training or competition, then this is what the literature recommends. If you weigh less than 70 kg, chopstick class, then you should have 20 to 30 grams cooked white rice, for example, or equivalent. How much is 20 to 30 grams cooked white rice? It's 1 to 1.5 tablespoons. Sorry, but that doesn't qualify as a meal for me. For me, a meal starts with something like 150 grams or so. And I was always thinking before that I can eat a schmat. That also explains why I was competing in the super heavy class, more than 120 kg, because I was eating so much. Because it's always easier to train and compete when you have a overflow of energy. That means eat a lot. Yeah, but so be it. Cannot lift 200 plus kg anymore. Now eat less and get accustomed. Sorry, just one thing. I wouldn't recommend eat white rice in my own case, because that would cause a spike in the blood sugar, which would cause the body to switch from ketosis to glucoses, and then that would stop any loss of weight. So in general, I would say if you want to lose weight, don't eat rice at all. Of course you can eat rice, but then that's it. Okay, I'm at the end. 33 minutes is the max, I would say. I hope that it helps. For me, no rice. See you again. Bye bye.